I found this story where it shouldn't have been, and once you hear it, it doesn't let go. The last boarding call came at 2:13 a.m. for a flight that crashed before I was even born. I was mopping coffee stains near the food court when the announcement slid through the terminal speakers. Soft at first, then sharp enough to make me stop moving. Final boarding call for Flight 702 at Gate 17. I remember staring at the polished floor, waiting for the second half of the message to make sense, but it never did. Flight 702 had been canceled for years. Everyone on the night shift knew the story. A plane lost over the Atlantic. No survivors. No wreckage found for weeks. Just a name people stopped saying after midnight. I'm Mr. D, and you are listening to Mr. D Stories. Most of you listening to my stories are not subscribed yet, so please like and subscribe to hear more from Bloody Chapter. That night, I told myself the old speaker system was glitching again. It happened all the time in Terminal C. Dead screens flickered back to life. Escalators moved. When maintenance had already shut them down. Doors unlocked for no reason. Airports never really sleep. They just dream in electricity. I pushed my cart past the shuttered gift shop and headed toward Gate 17 to reset the panel before security called me lazy. But halfway there, I saw them, passengers, maybe a dozen at first, then more. They stood in a quiet line beneath the gate sign, all facing forward, all dressed wrong. Old coats, narrow ties, dresses that looked like they belonged in faded photographs. One man held a hat against his chest with both hands. A woman clutched a leather handbag so tightly the skin over her knuckles looked gray. None of them spoke. None of them moved except to take one slow step forward whenever the line shifted. I should have heard suitcases rolling, shoes clicking, somebody coughing, a child whining, something. But the terminal was silent, completely silent. Even the hum of the vending machines seemed to pull back from them. Then I saw the little girl. She stood near the middle of the line in a blue coat with white buttons, holding a paper boarding pass in both hands. She wasn't looking at the gate. She was looking at me, not scared, not confused, just waiting. I grabbed my radio and called security. "You've got a group at Gate 17, I whispered, because speaking normally suddenly felt wrong. Static answered me. Then Carl from security finally came through, annoyed and half awake. "There's nobody." "At Gate 17, he said. I looked up. The line was still there. Every face turned slightly toward me as if they had heard him too. "Yes," I said, "there is. You want me to come check?" he asked. I said yes, but before he arrived, the departure board above the gate blinked once and changed. Flight 702 on time. Destination, Blackwater. I had worked in that airport 6 years. There was no Blackwater on any route map. My throat went dry. That was when the girl stepped out of the line. She walked toward me without a sound, her shoes never quite touching the floor, and held up her boarding pass. The paper was brittle and yellowed at the corners. On the back, written in tiny trembling letters, were 4 words, "Don't let him board." I looked at her, then at the rest of the line. "Who?" I asked, but she only turned and stared toward the far end of the concourse. A man was coming. He hadn't been there a second earlier. I know that because I had already counted the line 3 times. But now he was walking toward Gate 17 with a slow, easy smile, one hand in his coat pocket, the other carrying no bag, no ticket. Nothing. He looked younger than the others, cleaner, too alive. His shoes made noise on the floor, actual noise, click, click, click. When he passed the glass wall, I saw his reflection was missing, not dim, not distorted. Missing. Behind him, rain slapped the runway windows in silver streaks, and every light in the terminal flickered at once. The gate scanner woke up with a cheerful beep. The dead passengers began moving. One by one, They lifted their boarding passes. Beep, beep, beep. Each sound made the air colder. I stumbled backward and nearly slipped on my own mop water. Then Carl finally rounded the corner. "What's the problem?" he started to say, but the words died in his mouth. Now he could see them. His flashlight dropped from his hand and rolled across the floor. The pale man kept smiling. "You're late," he said to me, as if we had an appointment. "They've been waiting a very long time." The little girl grabbed my sleeve with fingers like ice and shook her head. The scanner flashed green again, inviting. The next passenger forward. Behind the gate door, the jet bridge had extended on its own. I could hear something breathing inside it. Not one thing, many things, breathing together. The pale man stepped closer, and for the first time I saw what was wrong with his face. It wasn't the smile, it was the eyes. They were full of moving light, like runway lamps sinking. Into black water, Carl lunged for him. But the man shoved him aside without effort, and Carl hit the floor so hard his radio cracked. The line kept moving. The dead kept boarding. I didn't think. I just grabbed the yellow caution barrier from my cart and swung it into the scanner. Sparks burst out. The machine shrieked. Every monitor in the terminal went white. The little girl screamed, a sound so sharp it felt like glass in my ears. And the pale man finally lost his smile. He came at me fast, faster than a person should move. But the gate lights exploded one after another above us, showering the floor in blue sparks. The passengers stopped. The girl pointed at the man, and all at once the others turned toward him, as if they had been waiting for permission. He backed up then, suddenly afraid, and the dead rushed him in perfect silence. No shouting, no struggle, just a crowd closing around him while his grin stretched wider and wider until it tore. Then the jet bridge door slammed shut by itself. Every screen went black. Every sound in the terminal returned at once. The hum, the rain, Carl groaning on the floor, and the line was gone. So was the little girl. Gate 17 was empty except for one brittle boarding pass lying near my shoe. I picked it up with shaking hands. On the back, the writing had changed. "This flight is delayed, for now." Title: The woman who never left arrivals. She was already there when my shift started, standing beside the international arrivals doors with a red suitcase at her feet. It was like she'd been waiting longer than the airport itself. I thought she was just another passenger stranded by weather. Storms had rolled in, grounding flights. The terminal was full of irritated families, sleeping tourists, and business travelers. But by 1:40 a.m., the crowd had thinned, the coffee stalls had shuttered, and she still hadn't moved. I had seen her before, of course. Everyone on the overnight crew had same white dress, same pale face, same suitcase. She always stood in the same place, staring past passengers as if waiting for one person and one person only. The first time I figured she was grieving. The 10th, I stopped trying to explain it. By the 20th, I stopped looking. Airports teach you that. Don't ask too many questions. Don't follow things that don't fit. Just move the bags, finish the shift, go home. That night, I should have done exactly that. Instead, I saw the red suitcase come down Carousel 6. I was doing late run cleanup when the belt jerked alive on its own, even though no flight had been assigned to it. At first, nothing, just the low mechanical grind of rollers. Then the suitcase appeared from behind the flaps, red and glossy. It spun slowly until the handle knocked against the metal edge. I knew it immediately. Same case, same silver trim, same scratch. I looked toward the arrivals doors. She was still there, still standing, still staring ahead. But now the suitcase was here, and she was there. And that was enough to make the skin on my arms tighten. I pulled the case off the belt and checked the baggage tag. The name printed on it was Elena Voss. I didn't know the name, but the date beneath it made my stomach drop. 11 years ago. The tag was for an international flight that never landed. The passenger had gone missing inside the airport. Even I knew that story. People on the night crew pass old disappearances around like ghost stories. A bride to be arrived from Europe. Her. Waited for 3 hours. She never came through customs. Cameras caught her collecting luggage. Cameras caught her walking down the corridor. Then nothing. No exit footage. No body. No ransom. Just gone. Like the airport had swallowed her whole. My hands were shaking, but I still opened the suitcase. I don't know why. Maybe curiosity. Inside were photographs. Not clothes. Not toiletries. Just dozens of glossy photographs stacked in careful rows. The first showed the arrivals hall at night. The second showed Carousel 6 from above. The third showed the break room. The fourth showed me asleep at the metal table in the back office, my head resting on folded arms. I dropped that one so fast it slid under the conveyor. Every photo after that got worse. Me smoking outside the cargo door. Me wiping rain off my jacket near the service ramp. Me staring at the woman in white. Angles that made no sense. Heights no human photographer could reach. Some shots looked like they'd been taken from inside the ceiling, some from behind locked maintenance doors. Then the bus system crackled overhead, and a calm voice filled the terminal. Passenger Daniel Mercer, please proceed to arrivals. That was my name. Nobody. Use the PA for baggage handlers. Nobody even knew I was there unless they were on shift with me. I looked around, expecting a joke, anything normal. But the whole baggage hall had gone empty. No cleaners, no security, no stranded travelers. Just me, the spinning carousel, and the woman. The announcement came again. Passenger Daniel Mercer, she has been waiting for you. Then every baggage carousel in the terminal started moving at once. The sound was deafening, belts grinding, rollers clacking, motors roaring to life like 100 iron teeth waking up hungry. Suitcases began appearing where no flights had landed. Black cases, blue cases, cracked leather trunks, children's backpacks, all circling endlessly beneath the harsh lights. Some had tags so old they had yellowed. Some were wet. Some left dark streaks. And then, slowly, I realized the tags weren't from tonight's flights. They were from flights that had been cancelled, diverted, lost, or never recorded at all. Luggage from people who had arrived, but never been claimed. The woman in white finally moved. She turned her head toward me, just a fraction, and for the first time I saw her face clearly. She looked young, but not alive young, preserved young, like a memory that refused to decay. Her lips parted, and though I couldn't hear her voice, I understood the words anyway. Come with me, she picked. Up nothing. The suitcase stayed beside my feet. Then she walked through a gray service door near customs. It should have been locked from the inside. I followed. I wish I could tell you I fought it, but fear has a strange gravity. The corridor beyond that door wasn't on any airport map I had ever seen. It stretched too far, bending where the building shouldn't bend. At the end was a waiting lounge full of people sitting in silence. Dozens of them, maybe more, men in business suits from another decade, families with outdated passports, children asleep against carry-on bags. A soldier with an old duffel, a woman holding flowers that had turned brown and brittle in her hands. None of them looked at me at first. They were all staring toward the main doors, as if still expecting to be met, still expecting their names to be called. Then the woman in white stopped in the center of the room and turned fully toward me. Her smile was small, almost kind, that terrified me more than anything else, because suddenly I understood. She had never been waiting for her. Not all these years. She had been waiting for the next person willing to notice her, the next person curious enough to open the suitcase, the next person foolish enough to answer when the airport called his name. The room began to stir. Heads lifted, eyes opened, faces turned toward me one by one, and in every expression I saw the same exhausted hunger, the need to leave, no matter what it cost. I ran. I don't remember the corridor, only the sound behind me, shoes on tile, luggage wheels turning. 1,000 patient footsteps finally given permission to move. I burst back through the service door into the bright arrivals hall, just as the first morning passengers began to trickle in from customs, blinking into the fluorescent light, searching for familiar faces. Everything looked normal again. Carousel 6 was still. The paw was silent. The storm had passed. But when I tried to move, I realized my hand was locked around the silver handle of the red suitcase, and when the glass doors reflected me standing there in my orange vest, I saw that the space beside me was empty. The woman was gone. I have been at those arrivals doors every night since, standing in the same place, watching strangers come through, feeling the suitcase grow a little heavier whenever one of them looks directly at me. Sometimes the paw still calls my name. Sometimes the belts start moving when no planes have landed, and sometimes, just before dawn, I see a woman in white, smiling as she walks toward the exit I can no longer find. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to Bloody Chapter, and pray your next arrival is really the end of the journey.